Hey, it's me, Sam Stein, here at the Bulwark with Andrew Egger, author of the Morning Shots newsletter, one of the great journalistic feats of our era. We're actually doing an emergency take. This is technically a substitute for Tim Takes, but Tim's not with us. Tim's worked too much, and so we had to step in for him here. Reason we are doing this emergency take is because news has just broken. Donald Trump is not going to be doing any other presidential debates. I guess that's what he says. You should never totally trust what Donald Trump puts out on Truth or anything like that. But here's what he said. I'm going to read part of it. When a prize fighter loses a fight, the first words out of his mouth are, "I want a rematch." Polls clearly show that I won the debate against Comrade Kamala Harris, the Democrats' radical left candidate, on Tuesday night, and she immediately called for a second debate. She and Crooked Joe have destroyed our country, blah, 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 blah. She was a no-show at the Fox debate and refused to do NBC and CBS. Kamala should focus on what she should have done during the last almost 4-year period. There will be no third debate, exclamation point. All that stuff was in all caps at the end. Andrew, are you surprised?
Not very surprised. One, obviously, we all watched the debate as it unfolded, and Donald Trump was there, so he knows how it went. It was not a super great showing for him.
Are you sure he was there? Are you sure he was there?
He was at least mostly there. Yeah, I mean the physical, corporeal form of Donald Trump was up there on that stage speaking. I don't know where the rest of him was. But it was very funny because you mentioned some of those polls. He already had those in his hands. Like when he went to the spin room right after the debate, he stepped up in front of all the reporters. He was like, "Let me tell you, we've got the numbers. We've run the numbers. The numbers are very good."
We're looking at polls. The worst poll that we've had was 71 that I see. We had a 92% rating in one poll.
80-20. I told that to Brett Baer.
We had an 86% rating in another. We had 77%. One poll is 92% to 6. It's 92 to 7.
It was all online right-wing polls. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like polling a debate performance is always kind of silly, but you can do it scientifically. I mean, there have been a couple polls that came out that basically showed that Harris pretty convincingly won that debate. But the weird thing about it, and the second thing is that like he was just on Fox News this morning, and they were like, "Well, come on," if he's on Fox and Friends, they were like, come on to our network. We'll do a debate for you. You know, we'll have you on with Martha and Brett. And he was like, I don't know about Martha and Brett. I feel like they do kind of a bad job. Why can't we do a debate with Sean Hannity? Why can't we do a debate with Laura Ingraham or Jesse Waters? I mean, like so the writing was kind of already on the wall that this was a guy who was like trying to go back into his safe space more so than out to do another adversarial debate with Kamala Harris.
I hear you. Doesn't this like kind of risk though this whole aura that he tries to project of like, I'm the alpha male, I'll talk to anyone at any time, I can debate anybody at any time? I mean, I'm not saying this is like gonna like cripple his campaign, but it does seem like kind of chicken shit.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that is why the first part of that post that you read there is such a load-bearing wall, right? I mean, like he's like, I won, so she wants to do another one, but I'm not going to let her trick me like that, you know? But if you look at it, I mean, like historically, there have been presidents who had bad first debates, right? I mean, Joe Biden was one, and then he didn't get another one. But if you look back at like 2012, when Mitt Romney and Barack Obama debated, and Mitt Romney was widely considered to have won that first showdown. But then they came back and did another one, and Obama acquitted himself much better, and obviously went on to win that race. So like strategically, it is a very bizarre thing for Trump to have so dramatically lost. I guess like internally in his own mind, it would be interesting to wonder whether he himself accepts the fact that he lost, or whether he actually sees those Newsmax polls and things and is like, no, I actually did great.
Yeah, but that's my point. It's like all the talk after the debate is like, is he actually all there? Is he mentally prepared for this? And if you were, if you were thinking strategically about this, the answer would be get him into another debate immediately so that he can rectify all the fuck-ups that happened in the first one. And here he is, he's running away from the possibility. I think this is actually kind of a mistake. Remember after the Biden debate, the entire question was, okay, can he get back out there publicly? Can he prove the doubters wrong? Like, yeah, Trump's going to go out and do some stuff, but I think this actually feeds into the criticism that he's kind of playing with half a deck at this point. We'll see, though. we'll see, right? Like, I mean, who knows if people actually hold him to this, or if he even gets dinged. Let's see if he even reverses himself. I mean, I feel like there's a possibility that he actually is like, you know what? Actually, I will do a debate.
Yeah. And I mean, there have already been so many little reversals already. And there's always a little bit of this kind of debate chicken stuff, although not usually quite as definitive as what he said. There will be no third debate. But on the point about just kind of like damage control, I mean, I think the Biden comparison is pretty interesting, right? Because like Biden has this really bad debate back in June. And then very quickly that creates this, or that leads into this reversal in their strategy where they're like, okay, we have to clean this up. He starts doing all kinds of press where he hadn't been before. But all that additional press turns out to show is that the debate was basically an accurate showing of his abilities. I mean, he had a lot more stumbles. Totally. He could not kind of put that all behind him like they hoped to. And I think if you're Donald Trump and you're looking at this strategically, or more specifically, if you're Donald Trump's advisors and you're looking at this strategically, maybe the conclusion that you come to is, look, we had him pretty well prepped to do another debate along the lines of the first one, where the goal was to stay on message, to stay boring, to project this kind of aura of just kind of quiet competence, where you're just talking about policy, you're just talking about the things everybody didn't like about Joe Biden's term, and basically allow just sort of everybody's gauzy nostalgia for the time that used to be to fill in around you and let you win and make you seem competent. And he tried to do that for about 20 minutes. And then Kamala Harris made fun of his rallies and rattled him and got him mad. And he couldn't, and all that planning just went out the window. He couldn't stick to it at all anymore. So I do wonder if you are Chris Latsavita and Susie Wiles, like maybe you're thinking, okay, he couldn't do it that time. What makes us think he would do any better of a job of staying on message right next to her up on stage a second time? And why should we expect it would be better? And maybe it's better just to rip off the Band-Aid and say there's not going to be any more.
But he doesn't. Sure, but he's his own boss. Like it's going to be his choice about whether to do this debate, not Chris or Susie's, right? Like, so clearly he feels like this was a negative. The other thing that this does, though, is it kind of complicates this whole talking point that I think was successfully chipping at Harris's support, which was that she ducked adversarial questioning and that she was not exposing herself to the public. Now, Trump definitely does way more interviews, many of them in friendly confines, but not all of them. But, there's a whole subset of, analysts and commentators out there who've been like pounding the drum about how dare Kamala Harris only do 2 debates and, how dare she not do all these media interviews. And now they just get to point to Trump and be like, we wanted to do another debate and this guy said no. So it kind of hands her a little bit of an escape hatch too.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that, by the way. Like I think that Kamala Harris got pretty lucky in terms of how little kind of dwelling on some of those pain points for her they did in that first debate. And a lot of that was because Trump was self-destructing on stage, and that he was not pressing any of those things except in a couple of very small instances. But I think it's very likely that if you got a second debate, kind of whoever ended up moderating that would have looked at kind of the narrative around the first debate and been like, all right, like let's make one of our strategic plans to push back on her specifically more on some of this stuff. And so I think, it seems like a complete failure to just kind of capitalize on that on the part of the Trump campaign.
All right. So what let's do over under, or what percentage would you give the chance that he reverses on this?
The chance that he reverses on this, or the chance that they actually end up debating? Because I think like, even if he reverses on it now.
Let's do both. For chance that he reverses, then chance that he debates.
I would not put it higher than like a 20-25% chance that he reverses. He was very definitive. I don't know. Maybe you disagree. What do you think?
I got to go with, I'm going to go with 30 to 40, 35. I'm going 35% chance he does a 180 and says, you know what? Change my mind. All right. Then chances the debate happens.
Very, very small, right? I mean, don't you think like 5 to 10%, maybe even less? Because I think like even if he reverses, there's a couple things. One, maybe he reverses, but is still like demanding that it be the I don't know, the Bill O'Reilly debate or something like that. Yeah, like that's possible, and obviously that's not going to happen. But then also, like we just talked about, it is not necessarily in Kamala Harris's strategic interest to do another debate. The only reason for her to do another debate would be so that she wouldn't have to back out of another debate, right? Like, so I mean, he's given her this beautiful opportunity.
I see, maybe, but they had such a good debate. I feel like they have unless they were trying to play chicken with him and be like, they called his bluff. They were like, let's do it again. And he was like, no.
Right. But don't you think she like shot the moon so hard that like given this golden opportunity to like just have that be the only debate in people's minds, they would be happy to take that?
Well, they have another. There is going to be another debate. They haven't canceled the Walls JD Vance debate, so there is that debate. But that's like that's the B team. No one's really going to vote on that. Maybe they will.
Okay. The fact that there's that, I'm going to revise my number up a little bit. Say 15% chance that we actually do end up with another.
Why is that? You think that something dramatic will happen, and then it'll be in their interest to actually have another presidential debate?
Yeah, I just had that number so much lower than the other because it seemed so plausible that even if Trump changes his mind, that Kamala and her campaign would essentially say, well, come on, you said we're not going to have a third debate. We're not going to play these games with you. We're done here. And just let that hang as sort of like the sole thing in people's minds. But yeah, I mean, it's possible that how could JD Vance not do better than Donald Trump did? I mean, kind of he's like a debate guy, right? He's kind of like the debate club kid in a lot of ways.
Was he in a debate club? I mean, he seems like the type of guy who was in a debate club.
No, I think he was kind of a burnout in high school, right? I mean, he had that. He straightened up in the military as sort of yeah. He came to debate club later in life.
I want to talk briefly about one of my favorite stories that's happened in the debate related to the first debate, which is there's a thing going around that Kamala Harris got the answers or some coaching because she was wearing. Have you seen this one? She was wearing these pearl earrings that have audio earpiece embedded in them, and there's a whole thing on the right that's like she cheated. Like this is proof. Look at her earrings that she was wearing. These are actual audio earpieces. Have you seen this stuff?
Oh yeah, I mean, I haven't exactly looked into it. I wouldn't say, but I've
looked into it.
I've seen the tweets going around. What'd you find out?
It's not true.
Oh my God!
Yeah, this is the type of journalism you get at the Bulwark. It's not true. I just want to be clear. I've discovered this. She's worn the proof is she's worn those earrings before. So and there's picture proof. And so if this unless she's been constantly coached with this technology over like many months and years, I'm just going to break some news to people. She was not wearing a bug or
you just blew this whole thing wide open. Right. I mean, maybe this is just like,
the funny thing about this was the Trump campaign started pushing it a little bit yesterday. Jason Miller put out a tweet where he's like talking about this article with like, the eye emojis. Ooh. And the article is written by, I think like whatever John Solomon's news outlet is. And it kind of dealt with the issue credulously. And it quoted a managing director for the company that makes the earrings. That said, they did kind of look like ours. But then it was very clear later in the quote that they were just playing a prank because they're like, we're going to design one for Donald Trump's usage to level the playing field. But it's really tough to make that color of orange. And it's like, but Just the News took it as a very serious quote and didn't realize they were being trolled. So I thought that was very clever by the man.
Such a funny I mean, like, it's not like she had any enormously effective.
She didn't make Trump say that they were, people eating pets.
She just planned really well, right? I mean, she had a bunch of like lines. Yeah.
Also, come on,
like canned,
Andrew. If you were in a debate and you had some jackal in your ear telling you, "Hey, do this," it would probably fuck you up. You'd probably do worse. Right?
I did a radio hit just this morning where like I got a little bit of my own feedback of my own voice in my ear because the system was not set up correctly. I almost died. Like I almost had to hang up. It was like I cannot imagine somebody yipping at me as I'm trying to like formulate a thought. Not good. She prepped. She did the work. Like he could have done that. That would have been okay.
The earpiece did not like omit like some sort of radar or sonar to like make Trump say they're eating the dogs. That was not what the earpiece did. Trump did that. It had nothing to do with anything Kamala was wearing on her ears. It's ridiculous. It's a great storyline, but it's totally ridiculous. And alas, I don't think we're going to get another chance to have these types of storylines because it looks like we're done with the debates. Andrew, thank you for joining us on an emergency session. I know. To the viewers out there, I'm so sorry. We're not Tim Miller. We just aren't. And I know you'll have to deal with that.
We already know. Don't feel like you have to tell us in the comments.
Yeah, we know. And, it pains us also when we see that the viewer numbers are so much lower. So maybe you can do more for us and help our egos by sharing this video and then subscribing to our YouTube page and then telling everyone to check out the Bulwark. And also, more importantly, to check out Morning Shots, which Andrew writes every day with Bill Kristol. Andrew, thanks, man. Really appreciate it, bud.
Thanks, Sam.
Take care, guys.